Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. I wanted to start this off with one of my new go-to guys. Chinu Patel has been sending me a lot of really good stuff. At Chinu Patel 29 sent me this. I saw this going around yesterday evening, but I was out of gas, and so I wanted to show this today. This is from Leonidas, who's one of the best follows in the XRP community. He is at Leo, at ELEOHADJILOIZOU, and he has a great website as well, XRParcade.com. Go check that out. It's got all kinds of good information on Ripple and XRP. He showed this video. Western Union, let me make sure that's not playing. Western Union CEO Hikmet Ersek speaking about Ripple and MoneyGram. Western Union is still testing Ripple, looking at Ripple, and learning from Ripple. Look, hey, this is a quote from the CEO. Look, hey, I'm open, any cost savings, any innovation, I'm there. We can sign a deal tomorrow, and that's Western Union. Now, what I'll tell you about this guy is this from day one, from the day that I discovered Ripple and XRP until today, this is the only person I have ever seen actually do a test with XRP and try to come out and say that what we have is just as good or better already. And when he did that about 6 months, a year ago or so. And when he did that, Brad Garlinghouse came out and said, well, they did this test on a very small scale. They won't really see the savings until they do it on a larger scale. And that was all that was ever said about this thing. But it reeks to me, I just don't believe it. It reeks to me of a guy of arrogance, really, if I had to sum it up. But this won't be the first time that a CEO displays arrogance when new technologies come along. It's been, I'll show you where it's been done before, and before that it's been done many times before that. And then Leonidas comes in and he says, excellent follow-up question. I think this guy's like, I think that this guy didn't really buy the BS that he was hearing. He said, excellent follow-up question comparing Western Union turning down Graham Bell's telephone patent to cryptocurrency and blockchain. The guy literally asked him, is this what's about to happen here? You guys are talking this down, and then all of a sudden you made the biggest mistake in a long time. Then C3 Nick weighs in on this, I think in a very good way. XRP Research Center had said, what really surprised me is he called Ripple a stable coin. It made me think if he actually knows anything about the pilot being made by his company. And then C3 Nick comes in and he says, the Western Union CEO is one of those CEOs who are complacent and drive a company into the ground. I think that the word is complacent, but also arrogance. I don't think that this guy knows that I caught this too. The guy called Ripple a stable coin. That tells me he doesn't even know what it is. He certainly doesn't know as much as you and I do about XRP if he's calling it a stable coin. But here, this will ring true with many of you. This is the Blockbuster CEO. Any of you remember Blockbuster? There's a quote from him, neither Redbox nor Netflix are even on the radar screen in terms of competition. That's the Blockbuster CEO, Jim Keyes. He told The Motley Fool in 2008. It's more Walmart and Apple. His video rental chain filed for bankruptcy in 2010, 2 years later. Today, Netflix is worth $61.93 billion. I think that speaks for itself, folks. Next, the crypto utility guy at UtilityGuy7 sent me this. I watched this video. This is interesting because yesterday I was talking about how Libra and Facebook would be a gateway into digital assets. Well, you know, the media, especially the Bloombergs of the world, they still can't get rid of trying to make the comparison between crypto and drugs and money laundering and Ponzi schemes and bad things. And so I think it's entirely appropriate that on their channel, someone referred to Facebook's Libra as being a gateway drug to all these evil heroin digital assets or cocaine digital. I mean, it's amazing what these people come up with. But I do think that it's correct and that it's going to be the biggest gateway that we've had to date. And so I'll give them that. But I'm not going to go to the video. You can go watch it. It's on Bloomberg. Next, from XRP, tone like the sound, at like tone. Facebook's Libra sparks privacy concerns while Monero, Zcash, Zcoin, and Grin surge. Well, here's the one thing that I'll say about this. I have not bought any privacy coins, and the reason I haven't is because you have one more additional risk when you buy a privacy coin. And for those of you that don't know, a privacy coin like Monero, those basically when you buy them, the trackability of who you are disappears the second you buy them. And so there's an appeal from a lot of angles for something like that for people. But I believe a lot of governments are going to declare them illegal, and exchanges are going to pull those from the exchanges. But there is an interesting angle developing. Facebook's privacy concerns is one of the major concerns with digital assets. And so will that give these privacy coins an angle where they could get popular? And they were talking in this article about how the privacy coins spiked a little bit when this whole privacy issue was coming up with this Libra coin. Should be interesting. Now, in that regard, I believe there's still going to be an anti-privacy coin thing from governments. If I was betting on one, it would be Barry Silbert's favorite, which is Zcash. And that's because he's heavily invested and there's a lot of powerful people around him. So now I like Monero the best. If I was going to buy one, I like Monero the best. But Zcash seems to be the one that might be on a more acceptable level by the powers that be. Next, from guest one at Freedom 944-29944, makes a very good point here. He's tweeting out an article about Morgan Stanley, and I'll show you that in a second. One, editor's note. As I have mentioned in numerous articles, the globalists almost always give a warning of negative economic conditions and dangers right before a crash occurs. They did it just before the crash of 2008, and they are doing it again now. I believe this is partially to distance themselves from the consequences of the disaster. They can say they tried to warn us of what is coming, and we are innocent of any wrongdoing. But these warnings are notorious for being too late to do much good. As the crash hits top speed only months later, if you are not prepared now, I suggest you do so very quickly. And I do too. I think that we've been primed for a disaster for a long time. This is the article he tweeted. Business conditions are at their worst level since 2008 financial crisis, says Morgan Stanley. That is according to a gauge of business conditions tracked by Morgan Stanley, which said in a recent note that its proprietary business conditions index, or MSBCI, fell 32 points last month, making it its sharpest collapse since the metric was formulated. The gauge touched its lowest point since the 2007-2008 financial crisis. Heed the warning, folks. Okay, XRP Crypto will send me this. Messaging giant, how do you say this here? Line JP will soon be able to open a cryptocurrency exchange for its 80 million users in Japan in a few weeks. Line is close to winning a crypto exchange license from Japanese financial services agency who will issue the approval. Bloomberg said messaging giant Line now has another banking license pending in Japan, which is unlikely to be issued until next year. Under such a banking license, Line would be able to create a cryptocurrency payments tunnel for other services like online shopping. Well, the point I want to make here is, just like with Facebook, here is yet another gateway. You're going to start to see major gateways from major companies pop up because all of these regulations are getting ironed out. Next, from XRP Crypto Wolf. The Italian Banking Association will deploy blockchain technology to run reconciliations on March 2020. The first use of blockchain among Italy's banks will integrate distributed ledger technology in interbank processes to accelerate settlements. And that's more adoption, folks. It's coming. Okay, now I'm about to show you something a little controversial. I don't want you to focus on prices. I showed the Bitcoin video a week or two ago. Don't focus on the number. That's not what's important here. This is XRP James T at XRP James. You'll remember a week or two ago, I told you not to focus on $10 million Bitcoin. But this in-game video really shows you the bigger picture of what Bitcoin is and why it's going to be so massive. 10 million, who knows? I personally believe that that's completely doable over the next few years. But what's more important is that you go and see the video. If you haven't seen the $10 million Bitcoin in-game video, go to Token Vision and you can see it. Now, someone has now come out with a $10,000 Ripple XRP in-game video. For I'll say the same thing. Don't focus on the $10,000 figure. That's not why I'm showing you this. I want you to focus on the content of this video. It really shows you a lot of good information about Ripple and XRP and ties a lot of information together. Whether XRP could go to $10,000, who knows? I'm just telling you that you need to see the video. You can study and make all those kind of decisions for yourself. But I also wanted to give some credit. I believe this video was inspired by this article from Mark Phillips on February 18th. XRP was designed for $10,000. The evidence is in its design. You can go to Medium and you can read this article, or just type in XRP designed for $10,000 on Google. But I wanted to give him proper credit because I think that they got some of their information from him. Next, from @XRP_out, Swift publishes the future of payments, building on ISO 20022 to ensure end-to-end consistency in business processes. Swift aims to deliver an API platform for the future of finance and the transition to an API economy. And then he gets this little snippet. Pending the success of a proof of concept with R3 trade platform, we'll soon be enabling GPI payments on DLT-based trade platforms within trade workflows. Great find. And next, finally, from Michael at VAL5Links, Cardano's Charles Hoskinson. Public will soon have the ability to run the network in God mode. When I saw his tweet, I just started laughing because it sounded so funny. God mode. They're so dramatic. Now, I wanted to make a comment on this, but first I'll explain to you what this is. It says, let me get down here. This way we are giving our community the opportunity to have a blockchain in the box. This is the first time that the general public would have the ability to run the network in God mode. By God mode, Hoskinson means that users can decide various factors, including the distribution of the token, maximum number of nodes, and delegation mechanics, primarily for performing network stress tests. Following the successful preliminary test, the company's roadmap includes the deployment of the final incentivized version of Cardano testnet. Well, here's the point I want to make in this. Now, Cardano is solving this problem, and I've said it before. Cardano has a messaging problem, in my opinion. They just hired a public, what do you call it? A communications person. They just hired the guy, and so I don't want to get on them too bad before he really gets his feet wet. But the problem with Cardano has been over the last 2 or 3 years in my opinion, is that Charles Hoskinson, who's a brilliant guy, is not communicating with the average Joe investor, and I know that that's probably not what he wants to do. It's not his function. But we've been hearing about test nets and all the technical aspects of Cardano from Charles Hoskinson for the last two years anyway. And after a while, you need to tell the people who are potential investors, you need to tell who are you going to be working with? Who's working with you behind the scenes? Who are the deals you're working with? What companies are looking at Cardano's technology to employ to, why should an investor be excited? Because your average Joe investor does not even know what a Cardano testnet is. They don't know what all these technological terms are. And I think Cardano is solving that problem now, but I think that's worthy of mentioning one more time. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that I'm glad that Cardano has finally got a communications guy so that the average person out there who's thinking about investing can invest and understand more where Cardano is going from a business angle. And finally, I was going to mention, I've had people ask me, because I've mentioned that I've reshuffled my portfolio. There are only 3 digital assets that I own as of right now, and that is, and it could change, but not because of none of the digital assets that I've ever told you about. I'm not a believer. It's not that I'm not a believer in them. I believe in all of them that I've talked about on this channel. I just decided that in the short to mid run, I believe the most potential is in these 3. My 3 are Bitcoin, XRP, by far the number 1, and Cardano. That's what I'm in. I mean, those 3. Now, I believe Ethereum is going to do well, but I also believe that if Cardano can, I believe Cardano is an opportunity, because with what I just said, their communications ramping up, I believe that it's going to start, people are going to start to understand that Cardano is a better platform than Ethereum by far. Thank you for listening.